So today was amazing in the news. In just the news about politics today, we changed the stories that we were going to cover and the order of everything. We changed the show like 300 times today because new things kept happening all afternoon and into the evening, each of which was more amazing than the things that had come before on this amazing news day. Up to and including Jeb Bush slow jamming the news with Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show tonight, which has just happened. We actually just got the tape of it. We will have that for you in just a moment. It's mind-bending. In addition to that, we got Donald Trump announcing that he is running for the Republican nomination for President of the United States today. You obviously heard about that, got lots of press today. But did you also hear that Donald Trump, since he announced that he's running for president this morning, he has since then announced who he wants his running mate to be? It's the first day he is running for the nomination for president, but he has already announced his running mate, who he's running with. And he says he and this running mate, unbeatable combination, they will definitely win. Now, since he made that announcement today, we have been trying all afternoon and all evening to reach that person, to reach Donald Trump's would-be running mate, to find out if she is into the idea. Yes, she. We'll have that for you in just a moment. Today is just nuts. Today is one of those days that is just nuts. Too much stuff is going on, and it is all interesting. Even the stuff that's going on about Scott Walker is interesting. And Scott Walker is a politician about whom it is sometimes hard to get viscerally excited. It's nothing against him. He just has this very laid-back, Midwestern manner. Apparently, part of him getting ready to run for president was that he started doing classes with a speech coach to make him sound less Midwestern, less Wisconsin, because I guess it was too calming or something. He's trying to be more exciting. Excitement tends to be one of Scott Walker's challenges. But today, oh yeah. One of the quirkier things to know about Scott Walker is that he says that some of the major events in his life have been pegged to milestones in the life of Ronald Reagan.
I often joke that I know Ronald Reagan's birthday because it's my wedding anniversary. But truth be told, Tonette would tell you I know our wedding anniversary because it's Ronald Reagan's birthday. She'd fill you and set you straight on that, but it's the truth.
Scott Walker and his wife got married on Ronald Reagan's birthday. So their wedding anniversary is Ronald Reagan's birthday. He has also told reporters that on Ronald Reagan's birthday, which is his wedding anniversary with his wife, he has told reporters that he and his wife try to go out of their way that day to eat Ronald Reagan's favorite foods. Happy anniversary. Here's a jelly bean. Not long ago, Scott Walker also spoke at the Reagan Library and explained that it gave him a shiver down his spine when he realized that not just his wedding anniversary, but another super important day in his life had happened on a Ronald Reagan milestone day. This was truly spooky.
Another thing I'm going to tell you that's already, as I anticipate saying this, is going to give me a little bit of a shiver. But not only did we share our wedding anniversary with the birth that we just celebrated, our 20th and his 102nd anniversary of his birth, but as we approached the recall election last year, it dawned on me, it hadn't dawned on me right away when they said it, but as we got closer, it dawned on me that June 5th just happened to be the date that President Reagan was born into eternal life back in 2004. It's the date he passed.
Scott Walker thinks it is maybe not a coincidence that the anniversary of Ronald Reagan's death fell on the day that Scott Walker had his recall election as governor of Wisconsin. And he and his wife were married on Ronald Reagan's birthday. And now, with Jeb Bush getting in the race for president, and Scott Walker and Chris Christie remaining the last super obvious candidates who are very obviously running for president, but who have not yet admitted formally that they are running for president. Well, today, the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel published this urgent report sourced to 3 insiders close to Governor Walker, who are now apparently leaking to the Journal-Sentinel the closely guarded secret that Scott Walker has finally picked a date to announce formally that he is running for president. He had his wedding on the anniversary of Ronald Reagan's birth. He had his life-changing, career-defining gubernatorial recall election on the anniversary of Ronald Reagan's death. And we now know, at least according to the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, that Scott Walker will formally announce that he is running for president on July 13th, which will be the 30th anniversary of the exact day that Ronald Reagan had a benign, non-cancerous polyp removed from his large intestine. I know, right? I know. Wow. So in terms of who else is going to get in, we still don't have a date for... I'm sorry, Jackie. I think I hurt Jackie. We still don't have a date for Chris Christie. Bobby Jindal actually looks like he will be the next one in. He's getting in next Wednesday. We spoke with Jim Gilmore's campaign in waiting today. Jim Gilmore, the former Republican governor of Virginia, very nice guy. His folks told us today that he is still actively considering a run for the presidency. They sent us this press release today letting us know that Jim Gilmore is making his 7th visit to New Hampshire. 7th. The Jim Gilmore folks told us that they can pretty much see the writing on the wall, that there's no chance that Governor Gilmore is going to make it into the top 10 candidates in national polling right away, which means there's no chance he'll be allowed into the first nationally televised Republican debate, which will be hosted by Fox News on August 6th. I mean, so there's Jim Gilmore, he's got that issue. There's also Bobby Jindal, who's got that issue. No matter when Bobby Jindal announces, it seems pretty clear that he's not going to make the cut to make it into the first debate either. But even with that, right? Even with Rick Santorum maybe not making it in, Rick Perry maybe not making it in, Rick Santorum maybe not making it in, Carly Fiorina definitely not making it in. With all of John Kasich, forget about it. The first debate's going to be in Ohio. John Kasich's the governor of Ohio. He's probably not going to make it. With all of those people not going to make it into the debate, or likely not going to make it into the debate, it does seem pretty clear that this man will make it into the debates. Donald Trump had made noise about running for president in 2000, but he didn't run. He had made a lot of noise about running for president in 2012, but he didn't run. Today, though, at the Trump Tower in New York City, he announced that this year he is actually going to run.
I will tell you, I love my life. I have a wonderful family. They're saying, Dad, you're going to do something that's going to be so tough. You know, all of my life I've heard that a truly successful person, a really, really successful person, and even modestly successful, cannot run for public office. Just can't happen. And yet that's the kind of mindset that you need to make this country great again. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
It was real estate developer Donald Trump speaking today in New York City. Interestingly, though, when he was going to run for president in 2000 on the Reform Party ticket, people took that potential candidacy then at least as seriously as they're taking this candidacy now. And around that lead up to that presidential election in 2000, Mr. Trump was asked in an interview on the Today Show, this is back in the fall of 1999, he was asked on the Today Show whether or not he had a running mate in mind for his presidential bid then.
Running mate. If you decide to go with this, who would be the ideal running mate for Donald Trump?
Oh, I think Oprah would be great.
Seriously?
I think that probably that would be serious, actually. There are numerous people that would be good running mates. I think that you'd have 5 or 6 people that would be actually great running mates, and I think I could convince them to run. If I decide to do this, I will have a great running mate.
What?
When he was going to run for president in 2000, Donald Trump said, first name that popped into his head, he wanted Oprah Winfrey to be his running mate. Oprah Winfrey at the time said no, she was not interested. Today, now that Donald Trump is not just flirting with a run, but actually running, he apparently still likes the idea of a Donald Trump Oprah Winfrey ticket. He says that they would win easily, actually. That's a quote. That's how he puts it. We would win easily, comma, actually.
I like Oprah. I mean, is that supposed to be a bad thing? I don't think so.
So when you think about who the kind of people you're going to run with?
I think Oprah would be great. I'd love to have Oprah. I think we'd win easily, actually.
I think we'd win easily, actually. So we have put in a call to Oprah Winfrey's enormous company today to see if they'd give us a statement to find out if, over the course of these past 16 years that he's been floating the idea, whether or not she has warmed to the idea of being Donald Trump's vice presidential running mate, whether she would like to be vice president to President Donald Trump. So far, we have not heard back from Ms. Winfrey, but I'll let you know, I'm going to be sitting by the phones all night in the hopes that she might call. Obviously, she's probably not going to call. I would guess if she does call that she's going to say no. But what if she did call and she said yes? What if I was the first person she said yes to about that? I will be up all night. I will have the ringer on. Oprah Winfrey, please call. So that was awesome. Today has been an amazing day in the news. There were a few bumps today for Mr. Trump's big launch. They did apparently have to put barkers out on the street in Manhattan outside Trump Tower to lure in random pedestrians and passersby in order to fill the room for Mr. Trump when he made his announcement. That was reported by CNN today. Also, Mr. Trump chose to play Neil Young's song Rockin' in the Free World for his hype music for the event. Since Rockin' in the Free World is basically a song about Republicans screwing the poor, you can imagine that Neil Young was not all that psyched about it becoming the Donald Trump for President anthem. After that happened at this event today, Neil Young released a statement to Mother Jones magazine saying, quote, Donald Trump's use of Rockin' in the Free World was not authorized. And then the very next sentence, there's no like ellipses here, there's no other thing that I'm editing out. The first sentence is, Donald Trump's use of Rockin' in the Free World was not authorized. And the second sentence is, Mr. Young is a longtime supporter of Bernie Sanders. So, endorsement for Bernie Sanders, and you can't use my song. That wasn't great for Mr. Trump's launch. Also, the number crunchers at 538.com took a look at not just the current crop of people who are running for president in 2016. They actually looked at all major party candidates for president dating back to 1980. It turns out there are roughly 106 people who have run for president dating back to 1980, at least people who are major enough candidates that there's publicly available data on their approval ratings and their disapproval ratings. And in that universe of data, out of all the more than 100 people who have run for president in this modern era, Donald Trump beats them all. Donald Trump has the highest disapproval ratings of anybody on that list by quite some distance. And there have been some really unpopular people who have run for president. I mean, no offense to my Uncle Pat, but Pat Buchanan was really unpopular when he ran in 2000. 43% of people had a negative view of Pat Buchanan when he ran for president in the 2000 election. That was the worst ever. Donald Trump is worse than that by 14 points. 57% of Republicans have an unfavorable view of Donald Trump, and he is running for the Republican nomination for president. So that's a challenge. Now, it should be noted that Mr. Trump has not filed his official paperwork to run with the FEC. You can check who's filed very easily on the FEC website. It's fun. There's a gazillion people running. Now that he has said out loud that he is running, though, apparently the way this works is that he's got 120 days before legally he really does have to file the paperwork. And a lot of people believe that even though he made this announcement today that he's running, and he does have staff in Iowa and New Hampshire and South Carolina, and it looks much more like he's running than he has in the past, a lot of people still believe that he will never actually file the paperwork and mount a real legal official run, in part because, conceivably, that's the sort of thing that might affect whether he is able to keep doing his reality TV show appearances. If Mr. Trump rides out the full 120 days from his announcement today, though, if he, let's say he goes, 119 and a half days, which is the window that he's got before he actually has to file the paperwork, and he then gets out at the end of that time so he doesn't have to actually file, within that window, he's still on track to take part in the first Republican nationally televised presidential debate and to be in the second nationally televised Republican presidential debate. And possibly, depending on when they schedule it, he will also be in the third nationally televised Republican presidential debate. And nobody thinks that that is going to put him and Oprah Winfrey any closer to the White House. But it is likely to have a powerful effect on what the Republican debates and therefore the Republican primary process is going to be like this year. Because even just in his announcement today, he was already throwing absolute flaming trash at the other Republicans in the race, particularly a bunch of the sort of mainstream substantive candidates in the race who might have a real shot. He started off right at the top of his remarks throwing mud at Rick Perry, specifically because during Rick Perry's announcement, it was really hot, remember? And Rick Perry looked a little sweaty. That's unlike Mr. Trump, who today was perfectly air-conditioned. He said it right at the beginning.
It's great to be at Trump Tower. It's great to be in a wonderful city, New York. And it's an honor to have everybody here. This is beyond anybody's expectations. There's been no crowd like this. And I can tell you, some of the candidates, they went in, they didn't know the air conditioner didn't work. They sweated like dogs. They didn't know the room was too big because they didn't have anybody there. How are they going to beat ISIS? I don't think it's going to happen.
Dogs don't sweat. But imagine a nationally televised Republican presidential debate, which doesn't include people like Rick Perry, maybe, or Rick Santorum, or Bobby Jindal, or any of these other, actual kind of high-level politicians. But it does include this guy. I mean, up there on stage with, say, Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio.
But all of these politicians that I'm running against now, they're trying to disassociate. I mean, you looked at Bush, it took him 5 days to answer the question on Iraq. He couldn't answer the question, he didn't know. I said, is he intelligent? Then I looked at Rubio. He was unable to answer the question. Is Iraq a good thing or a bad thing? He didn't know. He couldn't answer the question. How are these people going to lead us? How are we going to go back and make it great again? We can't. They don't have a clue. They can't lead us. They can't. They can't even answer simple questions. It was terrible.
Welcome to the Republican primary for President of the United States. This is now, for a long time now at least, this is what it's going to be like. And by putting Fox News in charge of the criteria for who's allowed to compete for the nomination, the Republican Party has just locked themselves into a deal where for at a minimum, for one of their debates and for 2 of their debates, maybe for 3 of their debates, maybe for all of their debates if he files, this guy is going to be on stage. And the guy who came in second to Mitt Romney in 2012 and a bunch of Republican governors of major states will not be there, in part because he is there. It's just amazing. But as promised, we do have a little something from former Florida Governor Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush announced yesterday, today was his first official day, full day as a candidate, right? In terms of his announcement, he did not have a big online response to his announcement. A lot of candidates have had a big online response. Now, the lack of response to him online may be in part because Jeb Bush doesn't really have a big online presence of any kind. So it's hard to know if the kind of flat response he got in social media and on the web in general, it's hard to know if that's something you can hold against him in terms of his campaign, or maybe he's just not even trying in terms of the web. But tonight, in terms of big media, Jeb Bush will be appearing on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and that will involve some slow jamming of the news by Jeb Bush. And we have got our hands on that clip. And that's next.